Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be what to do when your girl goes psycho. So obviously, I've got two good friends of mine, Dr. Dominick D'Anna, who you have met, and then Miss Ashley, who was with us the other day. And we got a bunch of questions that people wanted to ask, because obviously the video that we posted the other day, people had some questions because they're, as I talked about in my first book, 3% Man, that you can actually end a relationship healthfully, not full of anger and resentment and hate and cursing each other out and keying each other's cars and doing shitty things and saying shitty things.
Kicking the door in. I got one of those.
You can actually still love somebody and support them and care about them and be excited about who they're dating next or future relationships that they get involved in. And I know that's hard for a lot of people, especially looking at the comments. They think that's a bunch of bullshit. But I've got a bunch of questions that I was going to go through with them first, and then we're going to get into the topic of what to do when your woman loses her shit and how to handle it as a man, how to stay centered in your masculine energy. So with that said, why don't you, because one of the comments that I saw, because most people have never experienced this. They've never experienced a relationship ending.
A healthy breakup.
Yeah, a healthy breakup.
Right now, live time. That's what's happening.
And most people watch this probably have never experienced that themselves, and they probably don't know anybody that's gone, for the most part, that's gone through a healthy breakup, even though I wrote about it in the book. And a big reason why I was glad that they wanted to come on and talk about something that's so intimate and personal to them is because they literally have just gone through this process of being in a monogamous relationship for several years, transitioning out of that into friends with benefits, into now they just support each other and they're both dating other people. And so you can actually see the vibe, the energy, how they're relating to one another. So
the first thing is it's still fresh. It's been about 2 weeks-ish.
So we got one guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he was commenting all over the place, and he says, ask them why they didn't say the reason why they broke up instead of pretending everything was perfect, which obviously they didn't. So this particular guy, you can go and see in the comments there that he says he's engaged, he's got a fiance, and just from reading his comments, it sounds like he knows my work fairly well. But obviously, for him, he has bought into what society has sold him, that you're supposed to find one person and spend your whole life with that person. And if you don't stay together, you're a loser and a failure, basically. So obviously,
I failed a few times. I'm a repeat offender.
To me, that's polarity consciousness. It's us versus them. It's like my way is great and everybody else sucks. And that's how this guy is seeing the world. So if your relationship was so perfect, why aren't you guys still together?
Well, I like the idea of what the person who left the message, that there's the one. I like that idea. You find the one, you're done. Then you can just love each other, support each other, grow old together, you have babies together and grandkids together. I mean, doesn't that sound romantic? Doesn't that sound amazing? It's a fantasy.
But it's not my idea.
Let me tell you,
it's not your idea.
What's the divorce rate? 60-some%? So when the majority of people, that doesn't pan out, can we say that maybe there's a problem with that philosophy? And if that works for you, you have that relationship, hats off to you, man. You've been blessed, and run with it, man. But there's so many of us that despite our best efforts, it hasn't worked out. So either you're going to say, I'm a piece of shit, or there's something wrong with me, or you're going to say, hey, maybe we're all learning and growing, and what was right for me at one time isn't necessarily right for me now, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I said in the last video that we allowed our relationship to evolve, so we learned a lot together and we grew a lot together, and I think what we needed to learn from each other, we've learned, so now it's time to move on. And then we also both want different things, so our futures, what we want for our futures, don't align.
And it's pretty typical for people in a relationship where there's a big age gap.
Yeah.
I have kids.
I want kids.
And Ashley wants kids.
I want to be pregnant.
And I've taken interventions to make sure
surgical intervention
to make sure I don't have kids. You feeling me? I love kids. But I mean, I don't want to go through the baby thing. And Ashley is an amazing human being, and she wants babies. So rather than just trying to control that or manipulate that in some way to serve me, I love her so much that I want Ashley to have what she wants. And if you really do love someone, you put their best interests at heart. You put their needs ahead of your own. And
Love is about giving, anyways.
Love is allowing, and I want her to have what she wants. So now we've been apart for about 2 weeks, where there's been no anything that would look like
No hanging out, having fun, and hooking up
no
anymore?
kissy face, huggy bear
No
of any
holding hands.
kind, no holding hands.
Even though she did the other day, we all went to lunch and she grabbed his hand and went, "Oops, not supposed to do
I don't
that."
think I grabbed it. I said I want. It's like such a habit.
So-
like,
I think she gently grazed your hand, didn't she?
did
Dom?
I?
I don't remember. I didn't. It's so.
Don't be fucking diplomatic, man.
I don't remember that happening, but
I do remember. I remember watching. She's like,
remember
"Oh, I
saying
went
it.
grab his hand." Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember walking. Like I had like that natural instinct to grab his hand.
Yeah, if you're with someone for 2.5 years, I mean, you're used to cuddling, you're used to hanging out, you're used to
Yeah.
kissing,
the
and we went
norm.
from that to within 2 weeks to just made a switch. We're just like,
And-
hey, I want you to have what you want. I want to have more of what I want, and we're supporting each other moving forward. So,
yeah, but we're also still around each other. So
yeah,
it
we're
takes time
around
to
each other
get
every
used
day.
to the new normal.
And rather than being selfish about it, I mean, if I could just level with you guys, we work in the same office. She looks good. She walks by. If you don't think I want to grab a handful, you're fooling yourself. But that would be being a selfish asshole, and I don't want to make it about me. I want to have Ashley be happy, and as a man, there's nothing more satisfying than seeing Ashley happy. And if I could translate it into other things, just like in sex, man, when you're with your woman and you know you're lighting her up in the sack, man, doesn't that just, I mean, to me, that's a turn on, like that, to know that I'm doing a good job and I can make my woman feel amazing. Well, it's the same energy in seeing her now move forward in her own life. Like seeing her happy, that lights me up. Even if it's her being on the phone with another man that she's really excited to connect with and chat and get to know. Because that's my purpose as a man, is if I can make her happy, I feel fulfilled. And in doing that, it just brings me up. So
Cool. So after you had because when was that? September? October? You had your.
Yeah, September, I think.
Because I remember right around that time.
August.
why are we talking about my stuff? Leave my balls out of the
I think it was
conversation.
August, actually.
They're in
We
the
gotta,
room.
we gotta talk about the
We're
lower
talking-
unit a little bit.
We're talking about them like they're not even here. They're here. Can we call them
They're
by
They're just
name?
disconnected. They're
Yeah.
disconnected. They've been turned off. However, after you did that, I remember Dominick telling me that, Ashley's like, well, I still want to have kids. So, but despite that, she still continued to call and come over.
Yeah, because I love him.
And exactly. And then she would go out on dates and be like, this guy was an idiot. And she's like, can I come over?
It's hard. Like, I feel like I've been spoiled. I said that the other day. I feel like I've been spoiled with him because he loves me so well. He knows my love language, and every day he's so supportive of me and brings me up, and I got
Makes it hard to
like
leave.
9 out of 10 in the relationship, so it's like
What do you mean 9 out of 10?
like you were like 9 out of 10.
10 being showing up.
Exactly like what I
What
need
you
and
needed
want.
and-
Yeah. The one being.
So if you hadn't got your nuts neutered, you'd be a 10 out of 10.
I'd probably have a Rugrat right now.
Yeah,
if I didn't.
Yeah.
Ashley would be a little heavier. She'd have a little more weight on her.
Yeah, the belly. That's right. Right about now, the belly would be showing. But cool.
Yeah.
But they've been exercising self-control the last couple of weeks.
Well, we did the friends with benefits thing, and that was fun.
But it
it
kept
was
us from moving forward.
But it did, and then at the end of the day, you would feel, or at least I felt, and I think Ashley did as well, where there was certain frustrations in the relationship that would come up with each other, and then when we would just sit there and kind of think about it for a second, I said,
There's one route.
yeah, I'm really not like frustrated at the fact that we're not being intimate in the last couple of days. I'm really frustrated at the part that and then whatever it is, like for you, you knew you wanted to have a baby, but then I didn't get pregnant and have that kind of relationship, but yet you're with me, and while all these other needs are met, there
Got
was
a big need.
yeah. Let me tell you, if a
Nothing
woman wants to get pregnant, she's getting pregnant, either from you or somebody else. Like that's a big biological
Imperative.
motivator, and if your relationship doesn't have that, then what we found is that there was
Other things bubbled up.
everything's bubbled
like
up.
symptoms started bubbling up from the root issue.
Yeah, the root issue was that
Because you know she's great
That
with your
wasn't
kids, right?
oh,
I
my
mean,
kids
yeah,
my
and
kids
I
love
love
Ashley. They like her more than they like me. I think.
I love that.
Yeah, they love you.
Yeah. I love
So
that.
even though there's a lot of things there, like Ashley said, a 9 out of 10, everything's there.
Yeah,
But if that,
that's a big thing that's not there.
yeah, then
Yeah.
it ain't gonna work out. So I love her moving forward, and we did the friends with benefits thing, but that
Kept us from moving
didn't pan
forward.
out long term because then we found that we were getting annoyed at each other because those underlying needs weren't being met, and you know what Ashley's are, and then I had mine as well that were being withheld because she wasn't getting what she wants. So then it starts creating problems. So yeah,
Yeah.
so now we explored that and we realized where it works and where it doesn't, and now I love her enough to let her do what she
Love
needs
her
to do.
enough to let her go.
Love her enough to let her go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the new guy that you've been out with a couple times, what were you just saying before we started filming, that there were some things that he's not doing that Dominick is amazing at? We were talking about love languages.
It's the love languages, because my love languages aren't being met. My love languages, the two that are strong for me are touch and words of affirmation. Also, what is it,
Gifts.
gifts? Because
Oh, yeah.
I love being given flowers.
Brought her flowers all the time.
I really, yeah,
And how often did I tell you how beautiful you are and how pretty you are?
like every day.
Every day?
I'm
Just
pretty
once a day?
Like every day, like many times a day.
Probably about every other hour. I told her how pretty she was,
It's very nice to hear.
how sparkly her eyes are,
Yeah.
how beautiful she
But
is.
like if someone's telling you that all the time, you're just like, huh, like.
But
this
at least
feels good.
in this initial stage with this guy, he's not doing those things.
He's not doing
But
my
does-
strong things.
But
But
you still like him,
I still like him.
and you're still attracted to him.
Yes.
Do you find yourself more attracted to him because he's not doing that?
No.
Are you
I
sure?
find myself less attracted to him.
But yeah, you're still dating him.
I still have a
You
pull
would-
towards him, but I've had moments where I'm like, whatever, I'm done. But I'm like,
But
I'm also
yet-
not. I haven't communicated it.
But yet you still get together with him. You've only been out, what, 2-3 times at this point?
2.
2 times.
Yeah.
So you're already thinking
I've been
relationship
talking to him
potentially.
for like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still really new, and I'm still getting to know him. He's still getting to know me. We haven't had the love languages talk, which we will. I think because I want to also be able to do that for him. I don't know if I'm doing that for him.
It's early though. You don't
Yeah,
know each other.
exactly. So
But at the end of the day, some needs that are important to you are not getting met.
they're
But
currently not being met.
the important thing is that she's still going out with him. Just like when Dominick got his tubes snipped,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Well, I'm done." She still continued to call and go over and see him. And
What does it say about me?
and how many
It
days?
says,
How many days?
everything
did
I
Ashley-
teach in the book works.
Oh, okay.
It's like-
And how many dates did Ashley go on where she was excited to go out, and then she went out with the guy, and she's like, he
It's
let
like-
me
it was
pay
like
for
a
dinner.
no.
I offered, and he let me pay instead of being a man and stepping up and at least paying for half or whatever it was. He didn't walk me to my car. He didn't all these things
But
that
also-
I do. He didn't do. So then she would come over.
Well,
But also about that, if there's a strong connection there, then most likely the girl will you can screw up and the girl will still go on a second date with you, because if this guy,
he makes you feel something, doesn't he?
yeah, so if he doesn't pay for dinner, I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's fine.
She feels something. That's
so,
the important thing.
Yeah.
Don't look at what people do, or don't look at what people say. Look at what they do.
It's also who they're being, though.
He's masculine. He acts obviously manly enough that
Yeah.
you are intrigued.
Yeah.
It's a little mysterious because it's new.
Yeah.
So let's see, one of the questions was, about paying for dates. Because some of the questions, the guys were like, I would never pay for a girl on a date. For me, and as I wrote about in the book, if you invite a friend over, say you invite a friend to go out and have some drinks or to go to lunch. If you're inviting somebody to do something with you, it's just like having a party at your house. If you have a party with your friends and family and people you care about,
You hope
when they come in and knock on the door, you'll, you got to give me $10. There's a cover charge.
Mhm.
You know, so if you're the one inviting somebody to join you, you should be the one that pays. Just like if a girl says, "I want to make you dinner," you're not going to go over to her house and she's gonna be like, "Hey, give me $50 for the food." You might bring a bottle of wine or some beer or something to drink, but she went out and got the food and paid for it, and she's not expecting you to reimburse her. What are your thoughts? You
That's
agree?
yeah. And that, I mean, I'm talking about the first date there. It's the first interaction with the girl, and she wants you to be masculine. So that is one way you can show that you're masculine. You're taking care of it. That's how I feel. Like with the taking care of, like paying for the meal or the drinks or the whatever it is, and walking me to my car, that is showing me that like you got your shit together enough to take care of me. And that's something I want to see.
And some of the Rolo zombies are going to go, "Oh, she just wants a provider. It's all about money.
It's not.
It's all about money." What do you say to that?
What do I
When
say
somebody
that?
says, "Oh, you're just with Dominick because he's older and he's got money." I saw a bunch of those kind of comments.
Okay, what I would say about that, it's not. That's all I can really say. Personally, for me, I can't be in a relationship just for money, like, 'cause that's kind of boring.
Your current boyfriend isn't spending any money.
Yeah.
He's not buying you anything or taking you out. And you're
No, he's
attracted
in
to him.
school and-
So apparently, yeah, he's
yeah,
a
I don't
student.
care. Yeah, no.
So apparently, it's not much of a money.
So
money
he's broke?
motivation.
He's a broke dude?
He's a student. He don't have any money.
He's a little broke right now.
So you probably make more money than him.
Probably, yeah, because I work more than he does.
Interesting.
So the money.
If
thing's
it's
So
all
many
about
things
money,
about it.
why would she date a guy that's a student and broke? Because he does enough things that keep her attracted. At least at this point. It's only 2 dates.
Yeah.
We'll see how he does after a few more weeks.
We should definitely talk about the love languages, because that's important.
Cool.
Yeah.
So here's another one. Ask Ashley how her parents feel about the age gap with Dominick.
Well, my parents are awesome, so I actually had a little bit of a concern there, because I cared about what others would think about the relationship, so I had a lot of nervousness around our relationship starting with the age difference and what others would think. And I talked to my mom about it, and she said, age doesn't matter. She's like, "I don't know how many times I have to tell you this, Ashley. Age doesn't matter." So, yeah, my mom supported the relationship because she saw that I was happy and that he was good for me. So, she was happy that I was happy. I have awesome parents, though, so
Mm-hmm.
we have run into a few people.
We
that-
have a couple fun stories about that. We were at a wedding recently, and I went over to say hi to the bride and groom, and the parents were there, and the parents are friends of the family. Basically, the mom said, as soon as she saw me, she said, "How old is your girlfriend?
Yeah.
How old
those
is
are-
she? I hardly even know this lady." And I said, "Well, she's half my age, actually." I was kind of like, I just had fun with it. I don't give a shit. But we ended up finding out after the fact is because they gave us a call, and she
Yeah.
said, "Hey, sorry, I was a little abrupt." I was like, "No, man, I'm cool with it. I love it when people say what they're feeling. I'm cool with it." But what ended up happening was that her daughter was dating someone who was 20 years older, and her daughter was in her mid-20s, I'm assuming. And they had an emotional charge on it. And I said, let me tell you, your daughter's had a lot of issues. Dating someone 20 years older is going to be an amazing, amazing gift for her, because hopefully by that point this guy's got his shit together and she could feel loved, appreciated, have her needs met, and it'll really sponsor her in getting her and bringing her up to the next level. So I think there's a great opportunity there. It doesn't have to be an older man, but anytime a man can show up, it's really uplifting for the other person, and then even vice versa. Ashley's at an amazing place and has been, and it helps me show up better.
So in the time that you guys spent together, how have you helped each other grow into better people? Are there any specific occasions, events that come to mind? What you got, Ash Monster?
Oh, so it's such like a mix of things, but the things I've noticed with myself, how I've changed and evolved throughout the relationship is I speak up more. I'm more confident in myself. I like myself more.
It helps when someone tells you how pretty and beautiful
It
you are
does.
multiple times a day.
Feminine energy grows through praise, but at the right time.
It's really nice. It's helpful. Yeah, I'm more confident. I speak up. You've also like called me out on things and said like, with the whole speaking up and like standing my power, and me walking like a little bit behind you. You're like, can you walk next to me?
When we walked up here, going through the hall,
today,
I turned intentionally, got in front of her, and she caught up and got right next to me. I was like, damn,
I'm
you
growing.
go, girl. She used to walk 8 feet behind me at any one time. And I'm like, what are you doing? I want to walk with you. Get over here. What's
Yeah,
going
I don't
on?
know why,
and then she'd be next to me, and then she would just kind of float back. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Let me tell
it
you,
was all
not
subconscious
anymore.
too. I would have to consciously say, "Oh, you got to stay right next to him." And I used to make the excuse if he has longer legs than me, but it's not that.
Yeah, it wasn't that at
It's
all.
not. No.
And as a man, I want someone who can hold their own. I want someone who can walk next to me. I don't want someone
An
to walk
equal, a
behind me.
teammate.
I want a teammate, and I want someone who can hold their end of the deal. You know.
And I wasn't, but I've definitely grown into someone who can now.
And I think
With
that's a
things that-
reflection of the man too. If a man has a confident woman, that shows that guy's solid. If a man has an insecure woman, well, if that's what you're attracted, that's what you're interested in, then maybe you need to take a look in the mirror and see why you have to have that.
And I speak up, like, I have a clearer voice when I teach yoga now. So it's affecting my life in every area. And I really just think it's his love and support that helped me. Because I just can, like, I said this so much in the last video. I feel like I need different words to explain this, but I feel you made me feel so safe in myself, and so you raised my confidence level in myself so much that I was able to be more myself more often. And when you're yourself in life, like, everything in your life gets better. Everything. So, everything in my life got better.
Nice.
Right
Right
on.
Dom.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, one for Dominic. I got one. It makes up
That's
for
fun,
all,
bro.
it makes up for all those other fucked up relationships that I had, which can we get into as well? You know, I've had horrific relationships in the past. So going from that, where the breakup was always, you know,
Nasty.
you're not walking away, you're running away for your life. You know what I mean? Like, they're freaking out, and you're upset just the same, or at least I was. To go from ending a relationship and having it be hostile to ending a relationship and having us love each other, but just realize, you know, it's time to do something different. Man, it really feels good, and it's uncharted territory for me. It's kind of weird, and I'm like, hey, is this weird that I'm okay with her, you know, seeing with somebody else? Like, am I supposed to be, you know, jealous? I don't feel jealous. I'm actually happy for her. I want to know that she's got a man that she's excited about, and that she, you know, that they could explore and grow together. I want her to have that. So this is new territory for me, but I like it.
And there's so much gratitude with that too, to like have someone in your life that you know, trust and love enough to be able to have our relationship evolve like this. Like, I have so much gratitude that I have someone like you in my life.
How good does that feel? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That's so lovely.
We should kiss and make up. Let's go in the other room. I'm having fun. I'm kidding. We're not doing that.
So, what about potential red flags, Dominic? Somebody wanted
Oh,
to know
man.
what red flags
Let me
do
tell
you
you.
look for in a relationship? In other words, after all the crappy relationships that you've
Yeah.
had throughout your life, and you look back now, and there's a guy on the other end. What do they look for that you've seen, that you saw a red flag, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be fine.
So I think
And it wasn't.
I think to start off is Ashley and I joked around is whenever she would ask me a question and I was horny, I said, so do you want the before sex answer or the after sex answer? Because when you're horny, yeah, baby, whatever you want to do with this guy, we'll go wherever, do whatever. Yeah, okay, let's get in the sack. Then after, you're like, yeah, no, I really don't want to do that.
Yeah,
Am I the only one?
When he was horny, he was like, "Let's make a baby," and I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
"No."
after we had sex, I'm like, I don't. But anyway, so the point is,
You're a fucking salesman.
the point is
That's a bait and switch.
is you see
What the
shit
hell's going on here?
that you want to see, and you don't see this shit that you really should be paying attention to. When you got those love goggles on, you know what I mean? It's like
rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, man, you filter out. Oh, well, I know she kind of freaked out, but I was looking at her tits when she was young, and I didn't. It just kind of cancels. No, man, it cancels each other out early, but later on, that ain't gonna fly. So pay attention to the red flags, because whatever they're showing you early
what red
on.
flags specifically have you seen? If a woman exhibits a certain kind of behavior, like what behaviors have you noticed that at the time you were like, you made an excuse for it, and you're like, it'll be fine, and then later on, afterwards, when you're looking back, going, man, that was so obvious, and I just blew right past that.
So everybody's nice when they're cool. When they're emotionally charged, that's when the stuff comes to the surface. So you don't know the person until you've seen them emotionally charged about something, until you've seen them upset. And then you get to see what their strategies are. Because everybody gets along great when they're laughing. Everybody gets along great when they're naked. Everybody gets along great in the sack. Everybody gets along great on the honeymoon. It's afterwards when they get home and you get to see, hey, how good are they at dealing with challenges? How good are they at communicating? Because stuff's going to bubble up. We had stuff bubble up. Ash and I had stuff bubble up all the time. We just communicated really well, and we took responsibility for our emotions. That's, I would say, was the biggest thing with Ashley is whenever she was upset, she would say, look, I'm upset right now. I know it's not you. I know that, my emotions, it's my responsibility. And that was something that I think I helped cultivate quite a bit, because I always took responsibility for what I say and what I felt.
And I had the idea of taking I understood the idea of taking responsibility for how you feel, but actually doing it was hard for me.
Yeah, but you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got it.
He helped me get it.
I got it, and I owned it, so that over time, and it took a little bit of time, but actually a little bit at a time, took a little more responsibility, a little bit more, and now we communicate amazingly well. So I would say, if you're dating someone the first month or 2 months, whatever it is, and when they're upset, they can't communicate effectively what they're really feeling and what's behind it, if they're not willing to reflect and say, hey, why am I emotionally charged in the first place? If they're not willing to take responsibility for where they're at, which is a big challenge in some of my past relationships, if they don't take responsibility for their shit, you're going for a ride.
Yeah.
Because at that point, they're not growth oriented. If you don't take responsibility, you don't get the growth. You can only grow from your mistakes in life if you take responsibility for it. And I take responsibility for everything.
And that's how we've both grown so much through the relationship. And that's how I think how we've gotten to this point where we're able to break up and still have a great relationship.
Absolutely.
So one last question I got here is, and I assume this guy, maybe he's religious or he's one of the, no sex until marriage type thing, and this is a question for Ashley. He says, how important is it to hang out, have fun, and hook up? What if someone, in other words, he says, question for Ashley, what if someone is very serious? So I kind of get the impression it's like, would you still date a guy if he's like no sex until marriage and then eventually marry him and then have sex? Or would you be like, it's kind of a deal breaker for me?
Hypotheticals are hard for me.
But if you had to guess.
It depends on the person, because like I said,
It's all about what you feel.
Yeah, like I have a connection with this guy, so he can screw up a little bit and I'll hang out for a little bit.
Because your interest is high, at least right now.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's not doing the love language thing, you like him so much and you feel for him so strongly, you're like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Maybe I can work with that.
Yes.
Maybe he's open to learning.
So if that is there with someone who says that they don't want to have sex until we're married, then maybe that'd be yes. But that's so...
But your preference would be you want to get it on.
It's not necessarily that I want to get it on, but I don't know.
You'd rather not be celibate in a relationship if you didn't.
Well, it's such a great way to connect with someone.
Okay, that's what we talked about actually a little bit earlier today.
Yeah. So, there are ways you can have sex that's not connection oriented, but sex can be used in a way that you connect so much more to the other person. And then marriage is such a big commitment. So to have something hanging over the marriage like that, like we get married and then have sex, like
Yeah, what
it's
if he's
almost
lousy
like
in bed?
no, but it's
Now you're
almost
stuck.
like it's almost like you have like this reason like we're gonna get married so we can have sex. That's not a reason to get married. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
So
The bottom line is your preference is you'd like to have
Yeah.
it all.
I want it
If you-
all.
There you go. You don't want. She doesn't want to wait. But if the guy was pushing her buttons emotionally, probably would. Even though you're more kind
I'd
of spiritual,
think about it.
free spirit. Kind
And
of
I'd
thing.
have a conversation about it.
When a woman says, "I'll think about it," it means no.
It means I'm open to hearing.
You gotta
the other
ask
person's
the right
perspective.
questions to get the right answer. It's not set in stone. Hopefully you picked that up from the book, 3% Man, obviously, which you can read for free at understandingrelationships.com. All you gotta do is subscribe to the email newsletter on my website. So I think this is all the questions. So let's get into the topic at hand, which is how do you deal with your girl when she goes totally fucking psycho? When she loses her shit, gets mad, upset,
It's also the
tries to intimidate you.
I've been in this position a few times. I think I have my doctorate degree in psychotic women. When a woman's blowing a fuse and they're absolutely out of control, that's a red flag that's probably not someone who you want to spend time with. Not in the short term, not on the long term. Because in order for someone to play out that behavior, they're not taking responsibility for any of their shit. They're not taking responsibility for their emotions, how they feel, their actions, their behavior. They're blaming you or whoever else. And if that's their strategy for life, you're not going to have a long-term relationship. And if you do, it's not going to be a healthy one, not by a long shot. Versus someone who maybe blows a fuse every blue moon, but it's something that you can handle. It's something you're like, okay, let's talk about this, work this through, and they're growth-oriented. That's a completely different deal. If they're growth-oriented, meaning you love the person, they love you, and you can be there for her, and you know if you can or not, right? If you can hold your act together. That's an amazing opportunity for you to display amazing masculinity. And what that means is in the heat of the storm, she's testing you. Can I rely on you? Can I trust you? Can you handle me? And if you're calm, cool, collected, and you can be there for her, it is an amazing, amazing healing opportunity for not only you growing as a man, but for her to take on new patterns of behavior.
And it strengthens the relationship a lot.
It's an amazing opportunity to strengthen the relationship. But again, you got to figure out, is that a likely scenario, or is are you the guy who can be present in the middle of the storm? And there were times in my relationship in the past where I did for a little while, and then after a while I would freaking blow up too, because I'm like, this is bullshit. So obviously at that time I was not showing up masculine enough that I could sponsor that person and create enough safety for them that they could reflect on their own behavior and their own bullshit. So it's not a black or white thing. There's shades of gray.
So it's staying calm, using humor, playfulness, to not lose your shit as well. Because if you lose your shit, then now you're displaying weakness because you can't handle her being in a bad mood or being angry at you. But also, it doesn't mean that you sit there and you take verbal abuse. If you ask her in a loving way, it's like, hey, I understand you're upset, but you got to calm down and be respectful and talk to me, and we can communicate and work it out and be nice to each other. And if she keeps being a bitch and she keeps escalating it, it's like, I'm not going to put up with this. It's like, you need some time alone, so I'm going to leave. And when you calm down and you're ready to talk and be nice to me, give me a call and we'll work it out. But I'm not going to sit here and put up with this bullshit. And then you leave as a man. You hop in your car and you go somewhere else. Go hang out with the boys, go to the gym, go do something else. And if your woman respects you, she's going to come back at a later time and say, hey, I'm sorry for being a bitch. I'm sorry for losing my temper. I'm sorry for yelling at you. It was not appropriate. And then you can talk.
So I have a question about that. So how do you know when the woman's losing her shit and just blowing a fuse? When do you be present and say, hey, baby, I know you're upset. I'm here for you. You say whatever you need to say, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here no matter what. Like, how do you know when to do that, and how do you know?
Well, you've asked
when
her
to
to be
walk away?
calm, which is a more resourceful state to be in. But if she refuses to participate, if she just wants to start calling you a fucking asshole, you're a piece of shit, and
Okay.
cursing you out, causing a scene in the front yard.
So if she's being abusive,
yeah, if she's being verbally abusive and
or
you've
is
asked her,
disrespecting even the man,
Yeah.
then at that point as a man, you
and
gotta
she's
say,
yelling at you
"Not
and
doing
calling
it."
you a piece of shit in front of the kids, it's like, then you pick up the kids, you're like, let's go, kids.
Were you watching
Yeah,
my
wait for
last
her to cool
relationship?
down.
I don't put up with that shit, and that's
No,
why
that's not cool.
that's
It's abusive
why-
to the kids too.
Yeah, because then they think
They
that's
deserve better.
normal, and it's like it's like we were talking about earlier. My English girlfriend. It's like I get random WhatsApp messages just totally out of the blue from her, being goofy and silly and giggly and making the weird voices that we always make when we talk to each other, and it cracks me up and it makes me laugh. And she's always that way.
She's super cute.
And she's
Yeah.
great to communicate with and get along with, and that's why she's been in my life all these years, and we've supported each other through other relationships. And I had a Brazilian girlfriend who you remember who
That was different.
was just, she was smoking hot. She grew up without a dad, and she was used to everybody kissing her ass and able to basically get away with however she wanted to be, including her previous husband and previous boyfriend she had. And I'm just not going to put up with that. I tried numerous times to get her to talk and be sweet to me, and she was belligerent and an asshole. And on top of that, she was on antidepressants, and then when she went off those, it just got worse. And I was like, that shit didn't work for me. I'm not going to put up with that. I've got a girlfriend in the UK who has been sweet as pie for the better part of the last 16, 17 years to me. And I have this new girlfriend at the time who was just being an asshole to me. And it's like, I'm not going to put up with that. You say, oh, that's harsh. It's like, and I have not spoken to her since we split up. She still talks to my mother-in-law on Facebook and stuff, but it's like, I'm not going to put up with that.
Yeah.
Maybe other guys want to, but I don't. My life's a drama-free zone. As you've seen some of those mugs that I have that you can get on Teespring, it says no drama allowed. It's like, I live that shit. I
can
don't
tell you-
tolerate that from friends.
Yeah.
I don't tolerate that from family. I certainly don't tolerate that from women I date.
Yeah, absolutely. After my past experiences, when Ashley and I got in a relationship, and then now we've had an amazing relationship, 2.5 years. I can tell you when I'm dating again or in a relationship that's developing, my bullshit tolerance is at an absolute low amount. If I get even a little bit flavor of bullshit, I'm really paying attention to that. Is this someone who I want to spend time with? Is this someone who I want? The only thing we have is a little bit of time. We're on a rock flying through space. You know what I mean? We got a little bit of time. That's all you got. You got to figure out this little bit of time I have here to experience this amazing thing called life. Is this the kind of shit I want to deal with or not? Because now I'm dating again, and I'm like, my bullshit tolerance is at an absolute minimum. Doesn't mean I won't care for the person, wish them the best. Just not putting up with someone who doesn't have their act together.
Well, what about... So I had a little bit of bullshit in the beginning, I'd say.
Does she look like she had bullshit? Come on.
I
Ashley's
said
sweet
it.
as pie, and when she was upset, it was because she's so feminine. It was easy for me to show up as a man to be masculine for her. So
Okay.
I learned a lot from Ashley as well. Yeah, you had some bullshit. I had some bullshit too.
But yeah, and you sponsored me and you listened. You really actually helped me work through a lot of it. So
Yeah,
That's really
I've
good
seen
for me.
Ashley's bitch face. She gave me the bitch
I
face.
have.
I
Oh,
hate
she
you
can
and
get
want to stick
feisty.
a fucking knife in your skull. Look, when
I'm-
Dominick was down in Fort Lauderdale working
This
on my
is
friends
fun.
and family, and a friend of mine who was retired military, we were waiting on him because he was training, I think, the SWAT team that day. And I was like, hey man, I asked Dominick, I put a little bit of pressure on him because,
You
would
did.
you mind
Very-
waiting for the Mocha Bear, John,
Mocha Bear.
to come and get worked on? And Dominick's like, yeah, no problem. It's like, he got blown up.
It was an
a few
inconvenience.
times.
It was an inconvenience. It put us back getting here late, and Ashley didn't like it. She
my
got
emotions took control.
Oh yeah, she
They
gave me the
did.
look of death.
I apologize
And she,
for that.
thank you.
Actually, pretty quickly. On the
I
way
wanted
home.
to
let
say
me
sorry
know.
for a
Yeah.
while.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
I
6 months
apologize.
later, she finally fucking apologized.
Her face turned
You fucking
red.
bitch.
She got.
Just kidding.
I was angry because
Oh,
we
yeah.
were driving. Yeah, we were working the next day, so we ended up getting home. We were supposed to get home at a decent time for me to like get my life ready for the.
We were working the next
day.
morning, so.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, now we're gonna get home really late. I'm gonna be tired tomorrow, and and so and then all the thoughts started going, and I got really annoyed and gave
She
him
was
the
really
death
annoyed.
stare.
Oh yeah, it was
Gave
the
him
death
the
stare.
dagger eyes. So yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, my emotions took over, and
And
You
I
got
was
emotionally
preparing.
hijacked.
I got emotionally hijacked.
Yeah, and I was preparing for
I
a
did.
shitstorm.
And I
as
was
soon as we got in the
laughing at
car.
you. I was making fun of you. I was teasing you about.
I
this
know, and
dirty
I was
look.
like-
and it just pissed her off more. But I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna be in a good mood. This is my home. This is my castle. This is my kingdom. I want to take care of my friend because I it was I think it was the first weekend you guys were working on him and
Probably,
his girlfriend.
yeah.
And I wanted him to have a good
Yeah,
experience.
it was.
So.
Which is actually.
So I was
a
willing
great-
to tolerate the death stare
The
that I got
annoying-
from
But it was a great
Girl.
testament too, because even though Ashley was as fired up as she was, she took complete responsibility for her emotions. We got in the car, and I was like, "Oh man, it's going to be a shitstorm." I remember walking in the
Dominick was
car.
going, yeah, thanks,
I
Corey.
was getting
It's gonna
in
be
the
a fun
car.
ride home.
We got it from the valet, and I was like, "All right, take a breath, man, because there's going to be a fucking hurricane in that car as soon as you get in there, right?" And I got in the car, and she was a little quiet at first, and about 5-10 minutes into the drive, we talked a little bit, and she took I said, you took responsibility for how you felt, and you said why you got charged up, but Ashley took responsibility for it. That's the whole point. Anytime someone takes responsibility for where they're at, even if they do lose their shit and blow up, they're going to learn from it. They're going to grow from it. They're going to do better. When they don't take responsibility for their emotions, that's just, it's not growth oriented, and unfortunately, that storm's going to keep bubbling up until the person does. So, hats off to Ashley for
Yeah, hats off to me.
taking
Sorry.
responsibility for what she feels.
I forgive you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking care of my friends, though.
Yeah.
Because it meant a lot. So,
Yeah, I even felt bad about that afterwards. 'Cause I'm like, I could have been in such a
because you
different
were
state.
wrong.
Like, I was. Like, I could have shown up in such a different way where I could have been there to give what I have to give to them, and I didn't. And so that's like time lost.
Ashley's a little Rain Man-ish. She likes her structure. Her food, eaten at certain
I don't
times.
like structure, though.
Well, she
My
says
dad's
she
like that.
doesn't.
He gets
but-
fucking cranky as hell when he doesn't eat. He's like, oh, he's my mother-in-law. He's like, she's really hungry. She's got to eat. And I look at her and I was like, are you hungry? She's like, I'm fine. And he's like, are you sure you need that? I was like, Dad, I kid it. You're fucking hungry.
Yeah.
We'll go eat in a few minutes.
He's hangry.
So back to the you
Yeah,
got your
acknowledgement.
notes over there.
Well,
So back to acknowledgement. So back to like I said, I could tell she was pissed at me, and I was amused by it because I was having a good weekend,
and that actually helped.
yeah. Because you as a man, you set the tone. This is my kingdom. This is my house. I'm
I
gonna be
did kind of-
happy. I have my buddy's girlfriend, who's also a friend of mine, is pissed at me, and if she could, she'd stick a knife in my skull and probably smile about it.
I mean,
But I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna laugh, and I don't care.
Actually, yeah, that helps because you were
I set
you
the
were
tone.
not you didn't get mad at me back. If you got mad at me back, I would have probably gotten even angrier. But you were just kind of laughing. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, he sees that I'm angry and he's okay with it. So then I kind of like
I wasn't diminished by it.
cooled down a little bit. And then I really like soaked in like I'm the one with the emotional charge right now. Like if the other person doesn't get emotionally charged, the emotionally charged person can realize, okay, I am the emotionally charged one. So then it helps them take responsibility.
That's why I always tell you guys, I might not always be right, but I'm never wrong. I do say that a lot. But it's usually true.
But that's the deal with being masculine leadership. You're not always right, but whatever it is, you take responsibility for it.
Yeah, if I fuck up, I admit that. If you guys read my books, obviously, it's like I read about my fuck ups, and that's how I learned all this stuff is by fucking up a lot.
Mm.
So
Learn from
what
your
else you got on your
experiences.
magic list there to go through?
Well,
That was a
when
good
you
example,
said-
by the way,
Yeah.
to go through.
When you were talking about like give the person time to cool off. We were talking about that earlier, like when we have gotten in little fights. I call them fights, but you don't call them fights.
Let me tell you, I've experienced fights.
Conversation.
We've
Spirited
never
debate.
had a fight. In 2.5 years, we've never had a fight.
Okay.
I know what a fight is.
Apparently I don't.
On a scale of 1 to 10, when we, according to her, fight, it's about a 0.5. It's not even a 1.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
Dominic
no-
knows what it's like to be with a woman who goes full fucking lunatic and
Dude.
doesn't care. And
Yeah.
he's tried to be a pleaser and calm her down
That didn't work.
instead of being like, I'm not putting up with this shit.
Yeah, at the
You
end of
can't
the
talk
day-
to me that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, give them time to cool down is always good. It's like, so the emotion isn't as there. Because when someone's emotionally charged, you said this, they're using their hind brain and their animal brain.
There's a
They
reptile.
have no
You're dealing with a
access to their
reptile.
Fight
prefrontal
or flight.
cortex
Yeah.
to be able to reason and see a different perspective. But anytime, like when you've been upset at me for something, if we take like a day where like we just kind of like don't talk and give each other space, and then I come back and let you just like say whatever you want to say and listen to you, then we can start to move through it. But we can't, if I just give him time and continue to give him time to just work through it on his own, oftentimes the emotional charge is not resolved, the concern is not resolved. We have to have like that face-to-face conversation time because he needs to be acknowledged. And that's at least what I have experienced with you. Because anytime we have just sat down and I just let you say whatever you want to say, and I listen to you,
I feel better.
and I cannot defend. You literally just have to listen and see from their perspective what's
And it's
going
not
on.
agreeing with the person. It's just
seeing
allowing
their
them to vent.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
And then we talked about this a few days ago, but like acknowledging, like, or saying, because sometimes when he's trying to acknowledge me, he has said, "I'm sorry you feel that way."
Oh, man.
Don't say that. It does not work. Makes it worse.
He's still got a little bit of the little bitch in there, but you know what's funny? I love Dominic, but I also love breaking his balls because we were talking about this yesterday when I was in your office about my book, and because I think you just finished listening to it again, right?
I was listening to it, yeah. Yeah, I'm
And
going
so
through it
over
again.
the years, it's like because I wrote this book, what's it, 15 years ago, the first edition, I wrote it, and Dominic was always like, oh, it's, he was always telling people to buy it and read it, and oh, it's great, but yet he never read it.
I didn't
And
think
it
I
wa-
needed to.
And it wasn't until his
My marriage.
imploded,
Jesus.
and he started going through it. I was like, he was in pain, and because it's like I've talked about this before, and all of you guys that have gotten great results with my book, and then you try to get your friends to read it, and they're like, whatever. But as soon as they got a problem, they're like, what's the name of that dude's book? What was that shaved head fucking guy's name? What was his website?
Yeah.
And when people are in pain, that's when they want to know. And obviously, Dominic was, it's not a pleasant process going through an unpleasant divorce, and that's when he was open to it. And then every time I come in his office, like, oh man, I was like, this just really hit home for me. I read this
I've
chapter
listened-
in your book. It was so right on. And I totally did the opposite of what I was supposed to do. And
Well, 3% Man, for me, it helped give me a perspective that I wasn't able to see. Because I knew in the marriage that it was just an absolute disaster. But it wasn't because I wanted it to be that way. It's because I didn't know what the fuck was going on, and I didn't know how to fix it. And I wish I'd had the insight that I do now. I probably would have avoided the whole thing, but the reality is it probably would have dissolved anyway, but it would have been a different flavor. It didn't have to go that way. But I'm going through it again. I learned auditory, so I put it on my phone and I play the audio when I'm working out, when I'm making food, when I'm playing that thing all the time and I'm getting insights. And I don't know how many times I've listened to it, maybe 7 or 8, 9 times. And
10 to 15.
Every time I hear it, I hear something new. Like this yesterday morning, I was listening to it, and then I don't remember what chapter it is, but Corey was saying, when you realize that the relationship is going to end, don't drag it out. Don't do that bullshit. When you know it's not going to work out, end the relationship and end it well and end it properly. And that's the best thing to do. And I even shared with Ashley, I said, we probably should have ended it earlier. Not to say that at any point were we dishonoring each other. Like, we had an amazing relationship and still do. But I honestly felt that after listening to what Corey was saying about the relationship, it would have been even better if we would have ended it maybe a little bit sooner. And I already gone through the thing, the book 7 or 8 times, and I'm still learning. So.
And we did notice at the end that those little symptoms of
Yeah.
misalignment were coming up.
Absolutely. And they were coming up with frustration with each other when really we didn't have anything to feel frustrated about, and it was just getting played out in other ways.
And if we didn't take that awareness, then we would have fought, and it would have ended not nicely, probably.
All right. So now we're ending an amazing relationship on an amazing note, and we're supporting each other going in different directions.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
You want to talk about Rollo's book, The Rational Male?
Rollo Tomasi.
What did that bring? So one thing I want to say about, I think it's a great book, Rollo Tomasi's book, The Rational Male. I think everybody should read it.
Yeah.
But you got to understand that, especially a lot of the people that are into his work, they've known nothing but train wrecks in their relationship life. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you're looking for a long-term healthy relationship, women who have a good relationship with their mom and especially their dad, and their parents are together, and she looks at her dad as kind of like the rock in her life. He's always a sounding board. He's always the guy that she goes to when she's got a problem or needs somebody to listen. And the parents have a good relationship and they communicate things without screaming and yelling and freaking out. Those typically are going to be the best kind of women for long-term, healthy, monogamous relationships. When you start getting into areas where you're dating women that come from broken families, where there's no dad, or the dad was a narcissist or a dickhead, or the parents were cheating on each other, because I do so many phone sessions with guys where I hear the same pattern, the same story over and over, is that there's just certain kind of women that are better for fuck buddy, friends with benefits, open kind of relationship, that just you don't want to date them long term and try to make them into your girlfriend. Because if somebody comes from a background where there's lying and cheating, it doesn't mean 100% of the people are going to be that way, but pretty close to 100% are just simply not going to be capable of having the kind of relationship that you want to have. So you got to make a good choice up front. And what I like about Ashley is that she's kind of like Dominick and I, very spiritually minded, holistic, focused, and people that tend to be that way also tend to have a hard time paying their bills, and they're not responsible, and they kind of tend to be like a little hippie-ish, if you will, and inconsistent. But one of the things I like about Ashley is she's pretty even-keeled, pretty easygoing, pretty easy to get along with, other than when you get the occasional stare of death, and it's always best to just laugh at her and have a good time and not let it get under your skin. But what did you take away? What was your takeaway from The Rational Male? What light bulbs went off for you?
Oh shit, I don't know. So Corey and I have been friends for a while. We've known each other for, I don't know, 15 years, something like that?
Yeah,
16 years?
2004.
So when he said, hey man, why the hell didn't you call me when you're going through all this crap in your marriage? I was like, I know Corey, he's an asshole, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I like Corey, but at the end of the day, you don't take your friends seriously. You just don't. So I didn't put my
I think
stock
the words
into
you
it.
used were, I didn't want to tell you that I'm being a bitch in my marriage. I think
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that statement's true. I don't remember saying that, but it was true. What he's saying is accurate. So when Corey said, hey, check out Rollo Tomasi's book, The Rational Male, I just was like, what the fuck? How come I didn't, get into this earlier? I mean, it was just huge for me. So now I was like, shit, maybe I should check out Corey's book. Maybe he actually knows what the fuck he's talking about, after all. And then now I'm like, I've gone through his book so many times. So, but yeah, I had to hear it from Rollo Tomasi first because I felt like I could hear him, if that makes sense. And then his perspective opened me up.
Yeah, my own dad was the same way. I've been telling him for years. He's like, but it wasn't until he got into trouble and he was getting friend zoned and pushed away that he actually got serious and wanted to hear what I had to say.
Yeah, Corey's books, it was super helpful, and I can't recommend it enough. And I would honestly say that Rollo Tomasi's book got me in that direction, and now I have a value and tremendous appreciation for Corey's work. And in part, a big part because of Corey's work is why I know how to show up for Ashley so that I could be
Yeah, I was gonna say it was good for me.
yeah, it was good for Ashley and it was good for me. So now that this relationship is dissolved, the next relationship that I get into, I feel that I have more game now than I ever have. And I that's going to directly translate into a healthier relationship. So if your relationship sucks and you're frustrated with it, don't be a douche. Get the book, get Rollo's book, listen to it over and over and over again. And it's not about the other person. Fuck them. It's for you. You deserve it. If you believe you do, if you want that, do it. And as you get your shit more and more dialed in, man, the universe fills voids. So if you create the environment where you got your shit together, the universe is going to bring someone into your life that's got their shit together, and it's been amazingly rewarding. So I'm very thankful and gracious for Corey for the work that he shared with me.
So we've got one final point that Ashley brought up that she wants to share.
Yeah, so when acknowledging, he had in the past many times, which I've just finally been voicing, so I just say it all the time now. So he says, like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Okay, and that doesn't help because there's nothing wrong with what the other person's feeling. They're just feeling it. But what I find is helpful in my experience is that if the
so
other...
in other words, he was apologizing because you felt a way that
Yeah, I'm sorry.
he didn't like.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're feeling that way.
I
So
thought
it's
I was
kind of a
acknowledging.
useless apology,
Like-
basically.
I thought I was acknowledging her. Basically, I'm saying, okay, sorry you feel this way, whatever. I was like,
Whatever.
fuck off.
But the important
that's like the
distinction-
energy behind it,
Yeah.
you know?
The distinction, which is the right way to acknowledge, is
Is I'm sorry if I did anything that made you feel that way. That wasn't my intention. And then I feel like that helps me, again, take responsibility for my own emotions because they weren't intending to make you feel that way, but you took it that way.
So you're acknowledging the perception is what you're saying. When they acknowledge your
Exactly.
perception, it allows you to somehow be free of it and see it from a different angle.
Yeah, and then it deflates the beach ball. You're like, you just kind of relax and you're like, okay, thank you.
that's the difference that makes the difference.
Yes.
That's how you deal with
It's
the cycle.
little. That's how you deal with the psycho. We just relax.
As long
and we
as
say-
she is temporarily psycho, then goes back to normal. Not like psycho is kind of like it's always bubbling under the surface, and she's just looking for a reason to blow up at your ass.
Well, what the interesting thing is about being in a psychotic relationship, I say psycho, they're emotionally hijacked and they freak out, all right? So the interesting thing about that is it takes two people, because I remember when I had a girlfriend would just freak out, and it's like they look at you like they're waiting for your turn to engage, almost as if they need you to help fuel the explosion and keep the momentum going. And if you participate with that, it's almost like you're justifying the behavior, because they're only going to do a behavior if they get some kind of need met.
like
so-
acknowledging trolls on the internet.
So, well, they're just assholes. So the point is if you're in a relationship with someone who's freaking out, just be cool, man. I'm telling you, if you're cool, they will think that you're a motherfucker. Like you're the most amazing masculine caveman that's ever showed up in their life. And finally, someone has got balls who can be present in the storm. Your stock goes through the roof. It will go through the roof. But if you're not at that place, then that relationship's going to be tough, man. I don't know how you're going to work through it, and it might not be an ideal situation for you. But if you can weather it, it can be huge.
And that's why Corey laughing at me when I got upset it was perfect.
I'm perfect. I can't help it. What are you gonna do? Who can help being this good looking? I mean, seriously.
It's the haircut.
It's definitely the haircut. Chicks dig the haircut. They like the Velcro effect. So how can what you do with Network Chiropractic Care help people that are, like, come from the environment where I came from? My mother literally was a psychotic schizophrenic, never got hugs, never heard I love you from any of my family members. It's like, when somebody, how does that show up, and then what are you able to do to help them resolve or permanently deflate all that?
So I had gone to counselors, gone to therapists, trying to get the relationship stuff squared away, even with past girlfriends. And the counselor would say, oh, well, when she's doing this, she needs you to say this, this, and this. And then, is that what you want her to say? And she says, yeah, okay. We walk out of the therapist or the counselor's office and go home. She loses her shit about something. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, you regurgitate what the therapist or counselor told you to say. and you're saying the words with the back of your mind, you're like, I want to strangle this bitch. You know what I mean? They feel that emotion. They know that you're saying the words and you're full of shit. It doesn't work. So it didn't work for me. Let's just put it that way. Some people talk therapy.
Pleaser behavior.
Some people talk therapy. It can be amazing. For me, it didn't do shit. It didn't do a damn thing. But when I got body work, that was the strategy to get in me and open me up. And that's the work that I do now. It just completely changed my life. It's called Network Care. And if you want to know more about it, you can look up Network Care on the internet. If you want to contact our office, we can help you find a
Network
practitioner.
Chiropractic Care. NSA.
Network
At
Spinal.
BeSimplyWell.com. If you go to BeSimplyWell.com, that's our website. You can find us there. I'll help you find a practitioner. It's a type of body work that literally gets your body so open and so peaceful that outside circumstances have a less and less and less effect on your internal state. Hey man, when it's peaceful inside, it's always peaceful outside. And when there's torment inside, you're just looking for an excuse to blow a fuse. So for me, my relationships in the past were nothing more than a reflection of where I was at. Because how I respond is my fault. I take responsibility for that. And if you take responsibility for it, man, then that's a huge step in the right direction. And for me, getting body work that opened my body up changed my life. And I had so much value for it that I completely changed my practice at our office. So now we provide network care, the body connection exercises that help you increase your awareness of your body. When anything you're more aware of, you have more control over. And that's part of what Ashley does in the office. So if someone really wants to move forward in life and significantly increase their game in being present and being so peaceful inside that you attract more of that into your life and in relationship, check us out, BeSimplyWell.com.
And how, because I saw there was a guy that posted kind of a nasty comment. I think we banned him, but he was complaining that, trying to reason with me, basically, that I didn't know what I was talking about and I shouldn't have Dominick on because in the chiropractic industry, a lot of chiropractors who are not as successful as somebody like Dominick and don't get the results that Dominick gets were basically insinuating it was a scam, it was BS, and obviously I wouldn't have spent all the money and all the time with him for the last 16 years if it had completely changed my life. So what's different between the type of chiropractic care that you give versus a traditional backcracker chiropractor?
I would say that the application is totally different and the outcome is totally different. And even calling what we do chiropractic is a stretch, a really big stretch, because nothing that we do in our office resembles what you're going to get in a traditional chiropractic office. Chiropractic's amazing care. I mean, something that you can do, it's relatively profound in a short amount of time. Chiropractic care will do that as far as structure, changing your structure, increasing the energy flow through your body. I mean, chiropractic's a great tool. What we're doing with network care is we're not trying to move your structure. We're trying to help you reconnect to the tension in your body that's influencing your emotions, that's influencing your behavior. And the more tension you have, the more emotional charge, the more hijacked. So basically, your issues are in your tissues. And your default behaviors are unfortunately come up from the body. That's where that stuff is stored. So if you want to change your emotions, you want to change how you show up, you got to change your body, because that's where all the emotion comes from. And the more you get this open and peaceful, let me tell you what, man, if this shit can help me, it can help anybody. I was reactive, I was angry, I was controlling, and that's why I attracted that type of relationship. I was an asshole, I was attracting other assholes, or bitches, whatever.
Like attracts like.
Yeah, man. And I knew that, but I was frustrated at the fact that I couldn't change it. I didn't know what to do, even though I was doing talking to counselors, I was doing all this stuff and trying to reproduce what they said. It's who you be that determines what you do and how you communicate and how you act. I think the biggest thing in meeting women is they've made. I'm convinced that people have made a decision within the first second and a half, that when you walk up to a woman and she looks in your eyes, you got 1 second for her to say to herself, "This guy's cool, this guy's interesting," or "This guy needs to get the fuck away from me." Honestly, would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
As soon as the guy comes up to you, within a second, you're like, yes or no. And
You're either in or you're out.
Either in or out. And it doesn't have to be anything that you say. It's how you show up, man. Are your eyes soft? Do you look peaceful? Do you look happy? Do you look like someone who the other person a happy, healthy person would want to spend time with? And your subconscious, within a split second, already knows where you're at.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, network care completely transformed my life and my relationships, because it worked with that part of me, that physiology that women are looking at and reading. So for me, network care was amazing, and I have tremendous value for it. And the people that we see in our office have the same changes that I'm sharing with you. And some you need to see a lot, and other people, a few sessions, and they notice a huge transformation. So to get back to your earlier question, is this chiropractic? No part of this is chiropractic, but I use my chiropractic licensure as a means so that I can touch people and work on people.
Very cool. What about you, Ash Monster? What type of health coaching count that you're into? Why don't you explain to people what you do?
Oh,
How do they
Really
touch
do?
you?
Yeah.
We want to give you a shameless plug.
So I am an Ayurvedic health coach, and I also do energetic work and body work. And what I focus on is something that I've cultivated over the last few years, is just being more myself and more confident in myself, and learning how to listen to my own intuition to be more authentically me in my life. And I love coaching others to do that within themselves as well. And I do that with many different modalities. I also do some body work and all sorts of stuff. And
But
Yeah.
it's body-centered therapy. So
Yes,
someone
but it's
comes in,
very
they
energetic.
lay on the table, and you're doing
Yes.
a type of body work, so that the people know what to expect if they were to come in and.
yeah, it's a type of body work that's also dealing with the energetics. It's all the body's work.
Your issues and your tissues, like it or not, and until those are addressed in some way, people have a real tough time. And I found it to be one of the most effective ways of upping your game and your quality of life and who you attract in life.
I find that if you're doing body work and then also doing the mental, gaining different perspectives work as well, then those two hand in hand work really well together. But if you're just trying to get a different perspective, your body's holding you stuck tight where you have been. So that body work helps kind of loosen you up and get you a little more free to be able to shift into different perspectives.
Make the person available.
Yeah.
The more available you are, the more growth-oriented you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
What's your Instagram and your website?
Ashley Ayurveda, both of them. It's ASHLEY, AYURVEDA.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, and if you haven't read my books yet, you go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen on any page. As soon as you enter your name and your email and you press submit, you'll be taken right to the members area, and you can start reading my books totally for free. Even if you think I'm full of shit, if you apply the things that I teach, you will see that it works for you.
Yes.
So thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having us,
Thank
Corey.
you.
Until next time, we will talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.